Gym Bros, it's Big Paul here with Kolton and Chewbacca Uncircumcised Colin himself. We sent a search party out for Dr. Todd, and he's probably still asleep.
That or the FBI got him.
One or the other. We're not sure.
He's mixing up his chicken and strawberry shake.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's making his chicken shake, so he can be on with us. All right, I got to run my promo, so we'll do that to let you guys know who my sponsor is and not to do stupid things. Warning: this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, dudes, what's going on?
Not too much, man. Just living the life.
So skydiving last week. Chase Irons was going to join us, but he has a family engagement today. We had him. You missed the fun last week, Kolton. Chase came on.
I watched it. It looked good.
I think he had too much fun. He said he wanted to come back on. It's like if you guys will have me. Like,
no,
yeah,
it's nice, dude. I like it. It's kind of like my break from the week to talk to you guys.
Me too, man. I don't socialize. Colin and I were talking about that last night. I'm such an introvert. Literally, the gym is the only human contact that I have during the week, and honestly, I get sort of agitated at the gym sometimes because it's usually people coming up asking me what cycle to take.
Yeah, dude. Exactly what it is.
So it's like hard to get my workout in, but it's all good. But yeah, this is my dose of human interaction for the week, and then it's just puppies and kids the rest of the week.
That's all you can ask for. That's a good life.
So how was skydiving?
It was interesting. For one, this is funny. There was a weight cap. The weight cap was 250 pounds, and I woke up that morning after eating 0 carbohydrates at like 252, and I was like, "Fuck, dude!" So, I tried to not drink any water or do anything. I didn't before I got there. So I'm fucking starving, dehydrated, and I get on the scale, and of course I'm like not even close. I'm like 253. I gained weight somehow. So I was like, great, this is fucking awesome. And they're like, all right, we'll make an exception. As long as we don't have to pull the secondary chute, you'll be fine. But the secondary chute is only rated for like this total amount of weight. And like, so we're going to have to pair you with the smallest person we have. And it was this like 5'3" Australian dude. He was maybe like 150 pounds, strapped to the back of me. This is big fucking balloon right in front of him. It was awesome.
It's like you're carrying your baby.
Literally, yeah. It's like the fucking funniest thing. But it was great, man. I hate commercial flights. I hate heights. I hate flying in general. But that was like a whole different circumstance for me. And I really just try to embrace it as much as I can. It's a little fucking freaky getting up there. And then when they open the door and like the wind just like comes, it's like a movie. The wind just like rips through the plane and everything starts shaking. But when you jump out, it's like kind of a like, let's say it's a relief. And it's not even like a roller coaster. Like you don't get that queasy feeling in your stomach. It's just pretty much a straight drop. And when the chute pulls, it's just like a nice glide down. And it was probably one of the coolest experiences I've had in like a couple years, easily. Definitely. It was fun.
As someone who's afraid of heights, what made you even want to do it? Somebody convince you? Or
to be honest,
where'd that come from?
I wanted to get not afraid of heights. So I was like,
they call that aversion therapy?
Yes, exactly. Like, let's do the thing that would absolutely not be conducive to safety here and try to see what happens. So still terrified of flights. I have a commercial flight this next week to go to a client's show, and like I'm already anxious about it. So it didn't work, but it was fun.
Well, I told you before the call, I literally bought a self-driving Tesla so I wouldn't have to fly anywhere. That was my whole justification for getting the Tesla.
So I'm curious because I test drove like 3 years ago. I think I test drove the P90, the Model 3, and then the Model, I think it's the Model Y. Mm-hmm. And all of them, you couldn't, like, it would be self-driving, but it can only do so much, and you had to have like your eyes forward. Could you like eat and shit while you're driving, or does it?
It's
Like, 'cause I heard they updated it.
It's state by state. It depends on your jurisdiction regulations. Like I think I don't remember what states, but there are some states you can use the full autonomous driving hands free. But like in my state, you're not even allowed. You have to touch the wheel every 30 seconds. So
fuck.
I mean, it works. I've used it. It definitely works. I had to drive up to Pennsylvania the other day, and I used it on the highway the whole way. It's a bit of a leap of faith, though, man. It definitely made my butthole clench a few times.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it going to slow down? Is it going to?
Yeah, it gets. I remember that's when I was test driving. That's what I thought too. I was like, when it was changing lanes and shit.
Yeah.
I was like really uncomfortable. I was like, this is because there's traffic, and it's just you have to trust that it navigates. So on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
you had
it's
a close
weird.
call the other day, right?
Yeah, I had a lady almost hit me, and I didn't see her coming in the car. Swerved out of the way and braked. And
Like the Tesla itself did?
Yeah, they did it by itself.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah. If it crashes, are you responsible?
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, liability wise, I mean, they have every single waiver. I think that's probably why they make you keep your hand on the wheel. Mm-hmm. So there's a bit of deniability there. I don't know, but it's interesting. But yeah. So I'm traveling for bodybuilding shows. I'm actually going up this week to Ohio to interview with Tate for Elite FTS. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm nervous as fuck about that because that's Dave Tate's sort of like that's like the Valhalla of powerlifting.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, but
that's a big deal. Well, how long of a drive is that?
7 hours.
Wow. How so? Did you have the extended range?
Yeah, I got the extended. I got the battery's like 400. Yeah. 400 and some change in theory. I don't think it is in reality though.
So you got to like map out the charging stations and whatnot.
It does that automatically for you in the car.
That's fucking sick, dude.
Yeah, you just get in, you tell it where you want to go, and it plots out all your charging destinations and the whole 9 yard.
Yeah, I remember the P90D when you put it in ludicrous mode. It was like a 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, this is the same thing. It's like I took Colin, and it's like being shot out of a rocket, man. It's I was like debating, like I wanted to get some midlife crisis, or this late midlife crisis sports car. I was like, man, I want to get a Corvette or something fun like that because it might be last chance to get one. And then I drove this thing, and I'm like, yep, this is what I want.
Did you buy it? Was it brand new or used?
It's brand new.
How much? Can I ask how much it was?
110,000.
See, what's crazy about that though is that's really not like for a car that can do 0 to 60 in like almost 2 seconds. That's like unbeatable for price wise. Yeah,
it's a Model S, and then first week it'll tell you your gas savings. I mean, I drive a lot, but it was $140 some in gas savings the first week
for a 1 week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So you extrapolate that out over a month. I mean, $400, $500 in gas savings. So really, I mean, that defer, and plus no oil changes or anything, that defers probably a third of the finance cost of the car.
Yeah, easly.
I mean, this is not really bodybuilding talk, but
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Oh God, I wanted to talk about some MMA news this week. We don't talk about MMA on here a lot, but I am Colin. I used to do jiu-jitsu for years. So we're both very mediocre jiu-jitsu practitioners. We participated for many years and got our ass kicked by many black belts.
Yeah.
But it's
I have a lifetime losing record.
There was a couple incidents that were in the news this week of average Joes thinking they could take on an MMA fighter. And it's I don't know what goes through a person's head.
Yeah,
when they
ethanol.
I guess it is, but there's this poll, or they did a survey where 1 in, I think it was 1 in 20 adult, well, 6%, 6% of adult men polled think they could beat a grizzly bear in a fight. So that just tells you the sort of.
That's insanity.
Yeah, they literally think they could beat a 1,200-pound grizzly bear in a fight. So I guess I could see how. But this one, Joe Schilling, who's probably, I don't know if he still is, but was at one point one of the best kickboxers in the world, and he fought MMA as well. Knocked this dude out that was mouthing off at him at a bar, and the guy like pulled back to swing on him. I got to show you this video. And dude was knocked out before Joe Schilling got two hits on him before the guy could even get a punch off.
Oh my God.
It was so freaking fast. Like when you first look at the video, you're like, man, this is uncalled for. But then you realize the guy was drawing back. It was just that Joe Schilling is so damn fast that the guy, this is hilarious, man. So this dude's mouthing off and acting like a douchebag at the bar, running his mouth, and then here comes Joe Schilling walking past him. And guy's like in his way. Dude runs his mouth, says, "Hey."
Just like that.
Just like that, man.
Turning off a light switch. He just walks
God.
off. That's just another day in the office.
Like literally, if you were just in the crowd, you couldn't tell what just happened. You never know.
No, oh my God, he wrecked the dude's face too, man. Like it was so fast. Like if you watch here, you can see the dude pull back. Do you see him pull his shoulder back to take a haymaker on him?
He was found not at fault. Joe Schilling was found not at fault, but both criminally and civilly. So if that gives you any indication, apparently that guy was well known at that bar for being a troublemaker.
Yeah, they said that
he tried the wrong guy that night.
Yeah, they said he had been mouthing off to people like all night and to Joe Schilling and called his buddy the N-word and like just all kinds of and I guess Joe just had enough. And then there was another one, the Diaz brothers, who are legends in the UFC, where this I don't know why these social media guys that make these YouTube channels where they prank people.
Oh my God.
Like there was literally a dude that was pranking people in a mall by my house and got shot.
Yeah, that happened here in Virginia.
Yeah, that happened here in Virginia. But this dude this past week thought he was going to pretend to be Jake Paul and prank Nate Diaz at a bar, and Nate Diaz choked him out standing up. It was so quick.
Oh my God.
I gotta show you this one too, man. This one.
I love how people record this shit. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like I don't know. What are you thinking, man? I mean, like, what?
I'm in no delusion that like I could be effective at all in any sort of fight. Like, you know, I'm bigger than the average human, but I would be trash. Like I'm just a walking target.
Oh, there's Todd. We found him. Todd, we're talking about how the average person thinks they can take on an MMA fighter, and there was 2 instances of it this past week with
disproving that theory.
Disproving that theory, where this dude went after Joe Schilling in a bar, and Joe Schilling knocked him out, hit him twice before the guy could even get a punch off, knocked him out, and then Nate Diaz choked this Jake Paul impersonator or Logan Paul impersonator. Sorry, I get those stupid Paul brothers mixed up. But this is, I got to show you guys this one. This one's great too. It was so slick. What did we determine it was, Colin? A standing triangle?
Yeah, I think it was a standing head and arm triangle.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So this one is great.
It could be an arm and guillotine.
I don't know, but this
it's
what
hard
happened.
To tell.
Look at this guy comes after Nate Diaz. I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. And look, Nate's just like got a hold of him. Watch this. Doesn't even look like he's doing anything. Out.
Yeah, that's a head and arm triangle.
Oh my God.
Standing. That's just all it takes is just enough pressure on the carotid arteries to reduce blood flow sufficiently to the brain for just a few seconds, and that's like issuing a reboot command to your computer. You know, that's just the system's restarting.
Wow.
It happened so fast though.
I love it.
I guess this guy learned a lesson about pranking. He was filming, I guess his buddy, they were filming a prank for their Instagram or TikTok channel. I don't know.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's how I feel about it.
I don't know, man.
He's lucky he just got strangled out. All he did was go unconscious for a few seconds, woke up. Like he took less damage than the guy who got knocked out, that's for sure. As he might have pooped his pants, but that's about it.
When you see the guy with the cauliflower ears and the fucked up face in the bar, you that's the dude you do not mess with. I don't know why people
like if he's got cauliflower ears, fuck no, dude.
They look like they're the same size. I think
cauliflower ears is like, hey, let me buy you a drink. Let's be friends.
I mean, when you see this guy at the bar, that's not the dude you want to mess with. I mean, how many times has that nose been broken?
Right.
Face is all scarred up. That is not the dude you want to pick a fight with.
That dude is 60% Neanderthal.
He was his ancestors were swinging an axe on a battlefield, splitting skulls. I mean,
the Diaz brothers are as tough as they come.
I just like, and I guess this guy's trying to, I don't know, sue Nate Diaz, and they're pressing charges against him now. It's unreal.
Sue him for what?
For assault.
But it's mutual combat.
Oh no, this wasn't mutual. This was in front of a bar. This guy was trying to prank Nate at a bar, pretending to be.
Oh, he didn't swing on Nate. Nate just grabbed him and put him in a triangle.
Well, he went out and was talking shit to him. It looked like, and was pushing him.
Oh,
is what it looked like, and he choked him out. So I don't know how much trouble he's going to be in.
That seems to be an unreasonable escalation of force.
Yeah, it is. But you don't mess with an animal. There's just.
I mean,
I don't know.
Honestly, like what happened? Like all that happened there is that like dude's clothes got dirty, and yes, he may have pooped himself, but like he didn't take any significant damage. He didn't fall hard on the pavement or anything. Like that was gentle as far as I'm concerned.
He even like laid him down.
Yeah. He could have dropped him, let his head bump off the concrete. Like he just put him to sleep real quick, and then he woke back up and didn't learn a lesson.
I've been choked out of jiu-jitsu before. You just don't even know what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you come back too. You think you're still in that moment before you went out.
Yeah, you don't even know what happens. There's no pain afterwards. It's just lights out.
No.
So Chase inspired me to try the higher dose HGH this week. I ran 15 units of HGH. I made it 4 days, running 15 units. Oh my God, I was falling asleep. The part was I was falling asleep at my desk.
That's the problem. That every time I do it, I either get the swollen joints and it's painful as fuck, or I fall asleep and I can't do that. Like I have to work and I'm just like nodding off.
I'm like on 8 units. So, I mean, in either Serostim special or they're adding something to it that they're not saying that makes it so you're not getting. I mean, like we didn't ask him about the sleepiness side effect, but he's got me thinking that I've wasted the last 15 years because I haven't given Serostim.
Well, I mean, I had some other people reach out to me on social media. Some other guys that are pro bodybuilders are evidently telling me that that's the ticket, is to run the high dose Serostim, run it for 12 weeks, and then come off.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's worth a shot. Like, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's $3,000 a month.
Aside from that.
Besides that, mortgaging your future. You might grow a third kidney.
Yeah,
that might be.
It's like $9,000 to do that. So not everyone has an extra $9,000 on top of what they're already paying.
That's why I laugh when people think that all these pros are taking the shit year round. I'm like, it's not even. It's like most of these guys are broke.
Yeah.
Like, where do you think they're getting that kind of money from? And then I hear from dudes, well, they get stuff given to them. I'm like, no, they don't. Nobody's giving anybody shit.
No,
those are the same.
Maybe if you're Phil Heath or Big Ramy, but
those are the same people who believe parents are handing out, or houses are handing out like THC candy for Halloween. Like nobody's giving that away.
Or
right. You come get my THC gummies from my cold dead hands, you fucking costumed children. No way, Jose.
I mean,
people think like if you get like candy corn at Halloween that it's been dipped in poison.
Yeah, I love that. Like someone meticulously put needles or razors.
Yeah, like they're gonna inject every gummy bear with cyanide. It's just like no one's.
What's the payout? What's the incentive?
exactly.
And
that's what I never understood about these serial killers, man. Like people who just like kill for an incentive aside from money. Like I understand killing for money, like that's good business, but like just killing for the thrill, like doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
where's the payoff there?
Yeah.
my son was telling me they do the DARE program at his school, and like the whole anti-drug propaganda bullshit. But they were telling whoever I guess the cop or whatever that was doing it was telling him that about all the weed being laced with fentanyl, and I'm like, why would they put fentanyl in weed? Fentanyl is expensive.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
It's so stupid. Yeah, I don't know where people come up with the stuff, but yeah, the Serostim thing, man, it definitely has me intrigued. But I'm like, man, that's a lot of money to drop on HGH.
I would do it with generics. I don't think unless
that would be an interesting like side by side comparison if you started, around when Chase starts up again, next time. And
I've been using recently I've been using the black tops, and they're 15 units per supposedly.
Wait,
I don't know if they're
Nitropin black tops.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the ones I have too.
Yeah, that's what I've been using lately, and they're 15 units per. And I tried, like I said, 4 days, and I laid down to take a 30-minute nap the other day, and it was 3 hours before I woke up. I had my alarm going off. My alarm was going off. I didn't even wake up. I don't sleep like that. I'm a light sleeper.
Yeah,
I don't sleep a lot, so I'm like, I can't.
Love tops because they're 12. They're not 15, but
I just can't work like that. I don't know how. I don't. Maybe I didn't give it enough time, but I was like 4 days, and I'm backing off.
Yeah, that's my fear is that would happen.
My ankles swole up too by the third day.
So the question would be, does Chase get super tired?
Yeah.
That's the question.
I asked him, I DM'd him, and he said no, he can't. He'll be on. I think he said he's coming on next week, so we can.
He also said he wasn't suffering from edema either in his lower extremities. So,
I mean, he does a shit ton of cardio. He's always doing cardio, so that's probably
what's that like?
Yeah, what kind of people do that? I don't know those people.
So the other question is, did you use all 15 at night, like he does?
Yeah, all 15 at night.
Interesting.
And you were still 18 hours later. You're tired.
Oh, it was so foggy the next day.
Okay.
Just falling over. I had a hell of a time getting out of bed in the morning.
Huh. I'll give it a go. I'll make a YouTube series about it.
Nice. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Might as well. I'm young. Fuck it.
I mean,
this dude, Matt Epton, said that there was a new video with a different angle of the Nate Diaz altercations showing the pranker lunging out at him before he got snatched and choked.
Nice.
Just FYI. So again, he made a bad choice.
Yeah. That's your problem, bro.
Yeah, not smart. I mean, regardless, it's not smart. I mean,
that's honestly like what jujitsu taught me is like learning. Like it taught me how to handle myself in a physical altercation. Yes, it did, but more than that, it taught me like that I want to avoid a physical altercation at all costs because most of the people who kicked my ass in jujitsu class, like. Before I took jujitsu, I never would have looked twice at them as a physical threat.
Right.
Just assessing people as you do walking around. Like I got my ass kicked by people who look like they should be filing my taxes for me.
Yeah.
And they choke me out with a smile on their face and not a bead of sweat, forming on their brow. It was so easy.
I mean, it's just a pure experience thing. When somebody has thousands of hours on the mat and you're just some dude sitting on your couch at the house, it's like picking up a violin and thinking you're going to play in the symphony orchestra.
You never know what someone's capable of, or when they're holding a gun, or a knife. So just fucking watch yourself.
Well, what's the Gracie saying? Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the first lesson is free.
Yeah, the first lesson is free. That's right. Put your hands on me, and the first lesson's free.
The first lesson's free. So I guess bro learned a lesson that day. Well, the HGH thing I'm curious about. I may, man, I'm like back and forth. Do I want to drop all that money on Serostim? But I just I just can't. I'm such a cheapskate. I just can't make myself.
If I fall upon it, maybe it's free, or not free, but cheaper in Dubai. Who knows?
I mean, like the logical side of me is thinking it's either 191 or it's not. It's not like there's some special type of HGH. It's got to be the secondary ingredients or something in it that makes Serostim different, or it's just more potent.
2 years ago, I heard two people say the same thing, that they used 18 units of Serostim before bed, and they made incredible progress in just 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's what Chase is saying, is that he just like has just been blowing up.
Right.
So the pros are basically taking like 2 months of 16 IUs daily.
I think it's 3, right? They're running 18. They're full vial of Serostim, which is 18 units. So they're running three. What was he said? He was doing 5 on, 2 off for 3 months. Basically following the instruction pamphlet. We ripped out the instruction pamphlet from the package the last time, and he was going through, and that's what the instructions. There were studies and stuff on.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, Kolton wasn't here.
Yeah, you follow the directions that came with the GH, and then go back to the old way of doing it on the other months with other GH, I guess.
It looks like I'm gonna go order some more GH right now.
more Serostim, but that was essentially the instructions in Serostim. I think it was a 12-week run, is what they said in the instructions, and they showed in the studies that's what they did was 12 weeks. And these were just like sedentary people, and there was an increase in lean mass and decrease in fat mass as well. So it was pretty significant. All right, we want to. Did we want to bring people on live today? Do we want to try that again or no?
Well, there's a lot of questions in the chat already, but
let's grab a couple questions first
lined up. I'm down to have some people on live. It's always fun.
Yeah.
Let's see, where do we want to start with? How about Small Paul here, looking to do his first show and wants to know if y'all have just any general advice.
Get a coach.
I mean, I could say like a million things here. Just if you think you're lean, you're not lean. You need to get sick lean, like you're fucking gonna kill yourself kind of lean. And if you think you're hurting or fatigued, you're not. Keep going. And don't do anything for peak week. Peak week doesn't exist. Just fucking walk right on the stage. That's all you gotta do. That's all I'm saying.
Those are the 2 B's. Yeah. Get a coach. And you have absolutely no idea what you're in for.
Yeah.
So you need someone to actually be there to explain to you not to pull out.
Yeah.
Because
you
look better than you think you do, and you can suffer way more than you think you are.
Right. That's what a coach is for in those last weeks, is like, hey, you got this shit, because you get fucking crazy.
I mean, your mind plays tricks on you. I last year I got COVID 2 weeks out from my show, and I was just like, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
And and Justin was like, just keep going, man. You're fine. And I thought I looked like shit, and I ended up winning.
Yeah. That's the weird thing, man.
You won the overall too, didn't you?
What's that?
You won the overall?
No, I did the over 35 and over 40, but the guy that I beat in the over 35, he just won an overall at the last show I was at last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the Warrior Classic.
Yeah, the dude I beat in the over 35 won the overall.
Shit.
Yep. So just get a coach. Your mind's going to play tricks on you. Yeah, definitely. Everybody, I laugh when people send me their pictures and they think they're in single digit body fat already, and I'm like, yeah, dude, you might be in the teens.
Yeah, I have to tell people that all the time, and they're like, no way. There's no way. I'm like, yes way, dude. Like, it's fucking. You got a lot more to go.
Everybody thinks they're way bigger than what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say this too. In those last few weeks, it's instantly you will think more drugs will equate to a better physique, and that is rarely the case. It's just more fucking hard work is going to relate to a better physique.
Paul you had a client who had a show recently and failed to heed your advice.
Listen to your coach,
stage, right?
Yeah, listen to your coach. Yeah, I gotta be careful what I say. Your clients are listening to this, so but yeah, just listen to your coach. Don't pull your sodium at the last minute.
Although, yeah, obviously something stupid like that. If you already look good, don't change anything.
Yeah.
If you're so happy with your look, you're like, oh, I could win right now. I wish I could go on stage like this. Once you have that epiphany, you don't change a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Just coast.
Yeah.
You might actually reduce cardio and reduce and increase your food because you want to keep that look. You don't want to continue to lose
Right.
anything because you're looking perfect.
Right.
Because once you're perfect, losing fat means losing muscle.
Yeah.
You can't lose one without the other at that point. This doesn't apply to women. Women never get lean enough to where they could possibly lose muscle. But I mean, I'm sure there's an exception somewhere. But for the most part, unless it's a female bodybuilder, if we're talking the bikini or wellness division, maybe even figure, you're not going to get so lean that you can lose muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes, once we're under 10% body fat, we can start losing muscle.
Yeah.
So
I know all about that.
yeah, that was, oh boy.
I had a firsthand experience in losing muscle.
Yeah.
That's also the abuse of T3, kind of does that. too.
Yeah, that didn't help things either. But
Fortunately, you came raging back after that.
yeah, I did come reaching back. I will tell you, usually I've been keeping the peak week pretty simple. I just I'll start pushing food up, and then I just do a water cut the day before the I mean, that's it.
No.
It's nothing crazy.
My favorite is to let's time training around when you'd be stepping on stage and play with that look. Like maybe we drink, a liter of water before training.
Oh, that's an interesting
That's
idea.
smart. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
And then bring the scale. And then when you're at the gym and the look is perfect, what is your weight on the scale? And then
Yeah,
let's
that's
use
really
that weight.
smart.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea.
Sort of like mock
Yeah.
Stage-
every day.
stage
'Cause,
weight,
you're in the gym, you got a fucking pump. You're like, dude, I
Mhm.
look so sick right now.
right,
And then,
right.
Yeah. People step on stage, they're flat and shit. It's like, no, just fucking, unless you got a weight cap, go for that look that you have at the gym.
You're so smart, Kolton.
That's really,
Thanks.
really smart, dude.
All right, what's the next question?
All right. See
Oh,
here.
before we move on, if anybody wants to come on, I will bring some live people on today. There is a no asshole rule about coming on live, so
Well, I got to leave. Shit.
Well, why am I here?
If you come on live, you please have your phone horizontal, not vertical. Not please don't be doing anything illegal, and I'm going to give people a 5-minute limit, so can't ramble on
be
forever.
Clothed as well, please. Be clothed.
Be clothed, yes. No shirt, no naked people. We've had that in the waiting room before too. So, all right, let's grab another question. I will post the link to the come on live in the chat. So if you want to come on live, you can jump in there.
Got this question from Jack. He wants to know if we can talk a little bit about just being healthier as opposed to getting huge. I know that's sort of not what we're generally talking about, but
well, you pick one.
yeah.
In order to get back to healthy, you'd have to be unhealthy in the first place, and we don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you have sleep apnea or something. There's a lot you can do there. I just got this dental device that pushes my jaw forward while I sleep.
Does that actually work? I've seen
Yeah,
those.
dude, it fucking works really good. And it's the only annoying thing is this shit's in your mouth all night. But
Yeah, I tried it. I couldn't sleep with it. I'm
yeah,
too much of a pussy.
it's a little weird. And I kind of feel like it'll move my teeth around in a negative way.
Mhm.
Probably.
But that works really well. I think that's really, if you can control your blood pressure and get proper night's sleep, that's all you need to be worried about. And usually if you can't get proper night's sleep, you're taking too much drugs or you have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
And
Get your diet in check.
Yeah.
if you're not sleeping good, your gut blood pressure is going to be shit.
Yeah.
The blood pressure problem you get from sleep apnea can't be treated with medication. It's only treated with a CPAP.
Right.
I know that firsthand. I was having a hard time getting my blood pressure back down. I couldn't get it back down. And when I got my CPAP machine, problem solved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's and the heart rate thing too is same thing as improved sleep. I think maybe adding cardio in there moderately throughout the week.
I mean, really, when you think about it, as men, the thing that we're primarily at risk for, I mean, Todd, you would know better than me, but would be cardiovascular disease and cardiovascular events. So if you want to be healthier, I would say probably the most important thing to focus on would be your cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
What I find most is that guys over 40, or even if they're on TRT, their hematocrit and hemoglobin are shit.
Yeah.
And so in that case, it's you got to use Thomas Sarton and cardio. So it's probably, what's easiest for me is the second I roll out of bed, I do my vacuums, and then I put on whatever I'm going to put on to go to do cardio, and then I go do cardio, and then come back, and that's when my day starts. And the most important thing is you don't get caught up in responding to people that texted you when you were sleeping, because that's going to throw you off. I think like you need to get all your shit done in the day, including your first meal, before you start responding to people. Then you can spend a couple hours responding to people, checking emails, putting out fires that popped up overnight with whatever business you're in. And then you eat your second meal, and then you get ready to go to the gym. And then when you're at the gym, you can do your pre-workout and your prehab exercises and get started with your lift. To me, that's why life is so much easier on prep, because you have a routine. And if I'm in off season, I don't really have a routine. I'm supposed to go to the gym at some point over the day.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter when I eat, because I wake up full and I go to bed full. So I'm always tired. And it's as far as, but I was spent 2 years in an off season, had no blood pressure issues. My resting heart rate was fine. My blood work was pretty much good. The only thing that changed was after being on 1,500 or more milligrams of gear for over a year and a half, my ALT started creeping up and my HDL started creeping down. So that was probably my primo load was too high.
Yeah, I've noticed with me, 1,500 seems to be about my limit. Like I get up above 1,500 and then things start declining.
Right. And that's pretty much where I lived at for like 10 years, was 1,500 in the off season. And this year I found that I pretty much have to push above 1,500 to really make progress, because I spent a whole year at 1,500, made almost no progress, crept it up from 1,500 to 2,000 over the course of about 2 or 3 months. And that was where all the progress occurred in that whole off season.
You just need 18 units of Serostim.
Yeah.
You just need 18 units of Serostim. That was the
18 units of Serostim, possibly a Humalog pre and post lift, because I didn't do this past year, and probably need to be running 17 to 2,000. But that's not what he's asking. And then a night's proper sleep. Exactly. That sleep hygiene chart, you just type in sleep hygiene into Google, click images, and there'll be like a little picture with all the sleep hygiene stuff on it. It's pretty much a no-brainer. And people just aren't willing to do it because they're married and their wife will just protest. It's like, you're supposed to have your room at 65. I put aluminum foil over all my windows so no light can get in my room.
Yeah.
I have an eye mask like a woman, not that's feminine, but they're all feminine. They're all like doilies and paisleys. Right. And then I have a CPAP, and I have my phone set to a thunderstorm. Every night, YouTube knows it's bedtime, so it's all my options are thunderstorms. Yeah. And I basically I have a Bluetooth speaker next to my pillow. So I route the phone's thunderstorm to the pillow, so I actually feel the thunder rumble the bed or whatever. So it's like, and then I have a heater on one side of the bed, an air conditioning unit on the other side of the bed, and an air purifier in between them.
That's beautiful.
So I have 3 different sub-fan. I have heat coming from one side, cool coming from another side, and then a third fan inside the air purifier. So I have 4 different frequencies of monotony, and then there's the thunderstorm on top of it. And so
I use a fan and an air purifier.
In the bed with me, I have Tums, a roll of paper towel if I have to blow my nose, because
that's what it's for.
Yeah, because the CPAP.
Yeah. I'm sure it's for blowing your nose, not for blowing something else.
No, it's definitely for blowing my nose, because the CPAP doesn't work if your nose is clogged. So in the middle of the night, I don't want to have to get up to blow my nose, so I can blow and Kleenex is too expensive, so paper towel is cheaper.
I also do the aluminum foil on the windows. That's just so the government can't hear what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, not ashamed. I do too. So.
It's not even like he's got real blackout shades. He just got a black people gunned it to the wall.
So basically,
no girl has ever been over.
This room smacks of a woman's touch.
Yeah, basically everything that Todd's doing is what you do when you don't want to get laid.
Well, that's pretty much true. But what you could do is you could just Airbnb.
That's pretty much true. But moving on.
Yeah. Well, the trick is you get an Airbnb,
Ah,
And that way they think you have a nice place. It's really well
That sounds
decorated.
like
And they're like,
some advice young Paul would give.
you just have to rent the same place every time you see that girl.
Then she doesn't know where you live either.
Oh, my girlfriend's.
She shows up at your house randomly and someone else is there.
My girlfriend's horrified by my house. She's like, "This place is filthy," and then the temperature, I keep it at 65 at all the time.
Me too. Dude, if it's not at 65, I sweat. Like I will literally.
Me too. It's 65, and I got a fan blowing on me.
Yeah.
Then the other thing I did that's tied into this is you're supposed to wake up and get direct sunlight in your eye beams, in your eyeballs. It's supposed to be like direct photons with ultraviolet beams into your eyeballs.
That really does help you wake up.
So next to my bed, I have a reading lamp, and in the reading lamp, I put a sunlight bulb. So I can just turn on the lamp, reach up, turn on the lamp, and shine artificial sunlight into my eyes. And then I don't actually have to get up and walk outside, because in Michigan, it's cold 9 months out of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michigan's one of those places where I don't know why people live there.
I don't know what, you know what, it costs so much money to get out, and you know that that's pretty much it.
Oh, I believe me, here it's expensive as hell here, man. You got
like everybody's more expensive than us. It's so much more expensive everywhere else than it is here. It's so cost of living is so cheap here that it's like your overhead for the month is like $1,600, including gear, including GH.
Yeah, where I'm at in Washington, D.C., like the area I live in, a townhouse is close to $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
Right. Oh, they have places here too, but it's so you can afford to live very cheap because, for instance, 3 pounds of chicken here is $9.
Yeah, that's about what I can get chicken here for.
Well,
I can get chicken for the same here.
At business Costco, I get it for like $1.29 a pound because I buy it like 40 pounds at a time.
That's a really good price.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, business Costco is the shit.
Yeah, that's what I do too. All right, what do we got next? Nobody wants to come on?
Is it like fatty chicken with rib meat, or is it like the tenderloins?
It's the tenderloins. So they have a little bit more fat, but it's still.
Is it individually packaged, or is it like sold as a frozen block that you
get a frozen 40-pound block of it?
Okay,
so.
I don't want to
it's
spend
inconvenient as fuck, but
I don't want to spend 3 hours defrosting it, rebagging it, and then sticking it in the freezer.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody wants to come on, I guess. So we'll just keep racking through questions. If somebody wants to come on, I'm putting the link in the chat.
All right.
I'd never expected that would happen. Can anyone explain the proper way to do a face pull? Every video, someone says to do it differently.
I think this is a dumb exercise.
Yeah, nobody feels face pulls where they're supposed to feel it.
Well, I mean, it is possible to do them and feel them in your shoulders. Like we tried doing face pulls for years,
but it's here. It's not
like a rear delt.
This is an external rotation exercise. Yes. This isn't this is not a rear delt exercise. This is
yes. So that's what we changed.
So, but it took a long time to even like reach that conclusion, and then like to pull without just isolating my rear delts and not engaging my like rhomboids, like, you know, it's hard to do.
It's a very nuanced movement.
Super nuanced.
My opinion, so nuanced, it's not even worth doing.
Which is why I put this up, because that's the conclusion we sort of came to over the years. Like we just found other better movements that more successfully isolate the rear delts.
Yeah, like a reverse pec deck or
that's my favorite is reverse pec deck. Yeah. Or you can put your hand on the cable stack, put your hand through the D handle so that the pressure's against here, kind of like a cuff, but you can use a D handle and pull out one arm at a time. And that'll actually give you the resistance profile you need to maximize it at the 50% point.
You nailed it too, like
off on the contraction.
Yep.
Oh, we have a taker on standby. We got William.
Oh, nice.
You got to protract your scapula. You got to push it out You can't retract your scapula.
Yeah, that's huge. I tell people that all the time. You have to depress and
Yep.
Right.
And
And your body's going to want to retract
Yeah.
because it makes it easier.
Otherwise, it just turns into a rhomboid exercise.
Right.
Right. Which
Like
is
the
what
body
you're-
tries to do that. Like it'll like
Might as
you'll
well just do
unconsciously
rows.
let your stronger muscles take over for the weaker one that you're trying to isolate and not even realize that you're doing it. So you got to ask yourself while you're doing the movement, like, okay, this is a movement meant to isolate the rear delt. Is my rear delt burning? You know, am I feeling it in that portion in that head of the muscle that I meant to be working? Like, if no, what am I doing? You know, try something different.
And if you don't connect with shit, you got to do sets of 20 with drop sets because you got to ensure you get the burn in the muscle you're using. And if it burns in a different muscle, you're doing it wrong, regardless of if you look the same as the video. That's the thing is with the nuanced exercise, these finesse exercises in these super variant joints that have like 12 muscles working that joint at the same time, you need to find however you can possibly exhaust the one muscle you're trying to exhaust, and you don't overload yourself with other people's methods and cues. If you feel it in the rear delt, it's good for you, and you just keep doing that in the 12 to 20 range.
But if you're struggling with face pulls, just understand that that's a very difficult exercise to master for rear delt isolation. Maybe try the rear pec deck instead with the grip that Todd was mentioning, where you have, you know, the handle across the base of your palm, and make sure that you're making good contact with that the whole time, and keep your shoulders forward the whole time.
You know what's funny, Colin? And you think about it, we work out at a gym with a lot of advanced bodybuilders, guys that are pros or almost pros. And what do you not see them doing? Face pulls.
Face pulls, yeah. No, you see the people I see doing face pulls are people who are obviously new to the gym, and their face pulls don't look like they're activating the muscles they intend to.
Yeah, I don't see any of the guys that are pros or almost pros doing face pulls.
The other thing is, if you were you have to. A lot of people lack the common sense to realize this, but if the line of force is directly horizontal to the ground, right, or parallel to the ground, horizontal plane, and you're pulling horizontally, then there's force pulling you forward. So it means you have to exert a ton of force. If you're 1 foot forward, now you've made one shoulder different from the other shoulder because one leg's forward, one leg's back. And then you have to try to body English your way through it. And 1% of effort from your glutes is more than 100% of effort from your rear delts. So a slight amount of glute contraction will launch that fucking 30 pounds or whatever it is backwards. For it to be heavy enough to really overload the whole shoulders to where you're getting every muscle in the shoulder, even the rear delts, it would be so heavy, it would pull your center of gravity all the way forward. You'd have to wheel a bench over and set it up to be a chest pad for you to lean into. And you'd have to put a dumbbell at the base of this bench to be able to prevent it from sliding on the floor. So at this point, you've just created a machine that there are already machines to do this. You're ready as the reverse pec deck machine. There's absolutely zero reason to ever use a face pull that I could ever conceive of, except for if it was a game show. And that was the requirement for the physical challenge. Like so a Japanese game show is how to not lift weight correctly. And people run around the gym doing all the stupidest exercises that people come up with, like clean and press and Olympic lifts and stuff that, you know, well, Arnold says to do this. It's like Arnold didn't have a single machine to use.
No.
He had only free weights. So that's why the Arnold's Encyclopedia has only free weights and cable exercises. There's no.
Don't even get me started on the Olympic lifts and the CrossFit bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is a rabbit hole I don't want to go down. All right, William, we're gonna bring you on. Be ready. Here we go.
Here we go.
It's your time to shine, William.
Don't be weird, William.
Hello guys.
No,
what's up, man?
It's showing you vertical, but I see you as horizontal on the.
Yes,
can you turn your phone, buddy?
Okay, just a second.
Oh,
there we go.
Beautiful.
There we go. Okay, I totally misunderstood the vertical and horizontal. So first of all, thank you for taking me in, and excuse me for my English. That's not my first language. I'm from Sweden and Hungary, both. So I do my best, okay? But what I understood, you were talking much about Trenbolone and Tren here. Is that correct?
Not today.
I put the title as Tren, and more Tren.
And bad jokes.
I mean, in bad jokes. We can always talk about Tren.
Yeah, we're always happy to talk about Tren.
Yes, I wanted to take up some sort of side effects because I wouldn't consider myself like a bodybuilder. I'm more like an entrepreneur, and I also been a fighter in like MMA and grappling, and also like a hobby bodybuilder. But I was fighting at national level, and I was doing it totally clean for many years, and then a couple of years ago I decided like, okay, I jump on like, you know, TRT thing, and I couldn't go beside the mystical compound Tren, so I tried it, and I actually felt some of the side effects of that, and I was on very low dose of test and Tren, and I tried to compensate and level it out with SSRI. Okay, and that's where also the rest of the side effects begin. No, I'm out of it, but it resulted, and that's also one of my questions. Have you like ever met something like SSRI combined with Tren, testosterone, results elevated estrogen levels? Because that's what happened, and I never had elevated estrogen levels in my life before. And we're talking about very moderate dose of Tren and
what is the dose though? Like let's talk numbers, not add quality.
Yes. So to be clearer, like 150 milligram of test E per week, and 175, I think, of 150 Tren and 175 test. And the Tren was three Tren, like the 3 Easters.
So I will say that, do you know what SSRI you were taking?
Yes, of course. So SSRI was the
Fluvoxamine?
No, it was the Prolizam.
Okay.
I always have a problem to
Prozac?
Yeah, basically Prozac. Yeah, in USA it's known under the name Prozac.
Okay, so that particular SSRI does inhibit the CYP or the CYP enzyme that's responsible for metabolism of endogenous hormones like estrogen. So if you have, if you're taking a high dose of SSRIs in combination with 2 drugs that convert into substrates of other hormones, then and that SSRI is inhibiting the metabolism of those, you're going to have more of a buildup of that estrogen or even progesterone, prolactin, things of that nature that you necessarily don't want.
Yeah, prolactin is normally an issue with SSRIs. I know that. I try to be quite up to date with these things, but it wasn't prolactin. I got the blood works and everything, and surprisingly, like I started to build up like more fluid, like water, hunger. And I didn't have the motivation. So it turned out to be very high estrogen. And at that point, I was already off Tren for a long time, So, and nothing really hit through this wall. So even if I took the test, it didn't have much effect on me, So it was a little bit crazy. I was more like curious if this is something which you have met before or
No, I've never heard of anyone taking an SSRI with anabolics before, and which is weird because you'd think I would, but it's, to me, chasing a side effect with another drug is the route to disaster 100% of the time. The only people that do that are psychiatrists. And that's why they're kind of laughed at by other doctors, is that the correct thing to do is if you're getting a side effect from a medication, decrease the dose of that medication or switch medications. Since it's not like you have a terminal illness and must be on this medication to live. I mean, Tren is the absolute last resort for stage competition bodybuilding. There's zero reason for anyone who's not a competitive bodybuilder to ever use Tren. And what's funny is everyone talks about how it is so side effect prone and it doesn't build muscle. It's just for cutting. It's weird to me that it's popular at all with the mainstream. And I think the thing that makes it popular is that it's so dangerous, like bungee jumping or skydiving with a needle, that there's zero return and only risks and all these horror stories, but people still use it anyway. And then when you have a side effect from it, rather than decreasing it or pulling it, throwing some garbage like an SSRI on top of it. And so, and I understand you didn't prescribe yourself an SSRI, a doctor did it, but SSRIs are pretty shitty drugs because it's almost like a placebo. It doesn't have any greater percentage of efficacy than placebos. And it was a joke when they came out in the 90s, and that it was the way that people, like the Ozempic thing, where it's like you could just eat a diet, you don't have to just take Ozempic and then eat Snickers bars. And that was basically how Prozac was looked at the time, was as like you could just not do the things that are making you depressed rather than taking this pill to compensate for an unhealthy lifestyle. And now, of course, there is the rare exception of someone having an actual biological cause of depression that isn't a secondary depression. That it's
You're talking about the semaglutide or at the
basically taking drugs is a bad choice for every situation. And so the only reason why you do it is if you absolutely have to, like a competitive bodybuilder. So for MMA, I mean, if you're a pro fighter and you're at the UFC level, first of all, there is the USADA to prevent somebody from ever doing drugs because it's supposed to be a drug-free sport because of how dangerous it is that people would be using steroids. But on top of that, I mean, it's what you said is a moderate dose. I mean, those are moderate doses for competitive bodybuilders. Those aren't moderate doses for someone starting their first time. That a first cycle is never supposed to have Tren.
It wasn't the first cycle because I was on testosterone and like Anavar and things like that for I think 2 years in straight.
Okay, so this you added Tren to something you were already stable with, and so to me, if I was to add 10 milligrams of Tren a day, I would probably still have insomnia. Thus, even for me, who's been doing this Tren for 15 years, I still consider 10 milligrams a day to be a significant dose because it is so much stronger when it comes to the side effects than anything else.
I've talked to people that coach MMA too, and like they keep their guys away from Tren. You would think that you would want it for the aggression for MMA, but from what I was talking to guys that work with MMA fighters, the negative impact on cardiovascular endurance with Tren,
the pulmonary hypertension is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
It blocks some sort of channel of in your body, which actually takes down your condition. So I didn't have that feeling. So I was feeling very good on this low dose Tren, and I wouldn't say I had any side effects. The problem came when I quit. I just stayed on testosterone, and then I decided to take SSRI after that.
Okay, that's a completely different situation than how you originally presented it. So I'm going to reframe this so it makes more sense. So you were on test. You'd been on test for years. You added in Tren. You were fine while on Tren. You pulled the Tren, felt depressed, and took an antidepressant. And then the antidepressant caused an estrogen increase.
Yes.
This now makes sense. So the solution of this problem was don't take the SSRI, just deal with the temporary depression.
Also, keep in mind too, Todd. He said he was taking a Tren blend that had this short,
Oh, the long
medium, and long,
yeah,
and the long acting ester.
Most of us
Yeah.
just use Tren Ace because once we know we got to pull the plug, we want to be able to pull the plug and have it actually rip. You, for example, if you jump out of an airplane, you want to be able to pull the cord and have the parachute pop, right? We don't want to pull the cord and in 6 weeks that parachute's going to pop because you'll already be dead on the concrete. That's why we only use the short-acting drug. That's why no one.
Because I think it takes like 75 days or like nearly 90 days to clear out from your
That's
system.
a long fucking time.
Yeah, so I was planning like to run the test and then do a proper PCT. But the problem was I started to filling up with water. Okay, I had a COVID also there between. I did something else. I tested for the first time in my life MK677, which was I would say like shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, in the end, the big problem is the long-acting drugs are shit.
Yeah.
The long-acting esters are garbage. I don't know why people use them. Because if you're ever planning on going off, that shit's going to stay in your system forever, especially something like Tren that's so toxic. The whole point of using a short-acting Tren is to be able to pull the plug and have it out of your system so you don't have to suffer any more side effects.
I don't know why you would ever run anything but Tren Ace. I really don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's something that has to be done every single day. That this idea of using, I want to be convenient and do 50 milligrams every other day, unless the doses are so super fucking high, it is never the right answer. Even with the long-acting esters, you still get a sawtooth to the graph. It's always better to do every day.
So to clean out estrogen from the system, because as I mentioned, I never had this problem before. Something what I used before was like Provira, and that was enough, totally enough.
That's not going to have any effect on estrogen.
Okay, so we got two
not
different issues at play here. That to get estrogen that's in your system is too high, right? Now, taking something that stops the conversion of test to estrogen prevents new estrogen from being made. It doesn't clear the estrogen you have from your system. That likely if you pulled the SSRI, your estrogen production would go back to normal, and eventually the excess estrogen would just get metabolized. To metabolize estrogen faster, there's DIM and IP3, which is found in broccoli, for instance. So like you could just add broccoli to your diet to clear the excess estrogen from your system without fucking up the estrogen production, because to take MK677 and have no estrogen is completely pointless. You need the estrogen to convert the GH into IGF-1, which is the whole point of all of these drugs. In the end, is IGF-1.
Yeah, correct. But I'm off SSRI, so everything is going back. I start feeling very good again. I had like anhedonia. You say that?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's normal.
So I'm over it. I just wanted to put this question up on the table, and maybe for somebody who has this problem or face this problem, maybe it could be to help. But I took some AIs, and it looked like it helped me. You know.
So far, this crisis involved adding Tren, adding SSRI, adding MK677, then following it up with some Proviron and AIs. So 5 drugs that wouldn't normally be deployed, and it didn't work out from a subjective emotional standpoint. And the answer is, yeah, throwing 5 different grenades in the pond is definitely going to kill a few frogs. That we want to just, if we add something and shit starts going off the rails, generally after you pull it and you be patient, the shit will get back on the rails. Adding in more drugs to try to make it get back on the rails faster just fucks it up even worse in the other direction, or it'll all go sideways.
Yeah.
All right, William, we appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Guys, thank you very much for the short discussion, and keep it up.
Yes.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye.
See ya.
We had another one in the waiting room, but he left.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Man,
I guess.
I'm just like conversations like that bore me. Like it's such an easy answer. It's just like ugh.
Well, it sounded like I was basically dressing this guy down, and I didn't mean to do that. If it was
No,
one
I can-
when I wouldn't have done that, but I wanted it for the other thousands of people who watch
Right.
this to understand you do not do what psychiatrists do under any circumstances. If you're confused, don't say, let's just add another drug and hope for the best. Like that's never going to be the right answer. Psychiatrists are known for being fucking crazy. That's why they went into psychiatry.
Yeah. Psychiatry isn't the study of how to work with someone's mind and fix it. It's a study of what medication to put into someone so they don't have problems anymore.
Yeah. It's the worst. It's the least respected field of medicine, I think, is psychiatry. And a lot of people don't realize psychiatrists are doctors, and that's part of it. Oh, driving to the burbs in the rain.
That's how Chase is spending his afternoon.
Like how,
He misses us. He'd rather be with us.
He's going to a christening. That's where he's at. This 18 units of Serostim for the
He's
christening.
like, well, at least he'll be able to nod out because he's had enough Serostim to nod out in church.
Oh man,
Have to carb up on communion wafers.
David's back. We'll get him on.
What do
Awesome.
those taste like? I always assumed they were sweet because of
They don't taste like anything. It's like I grew up. I went to Catholic school. It's like foam.
Yeah.
You'd think they would flavor them so kids would want to go to communion.
No, it's terrible.
It's like just bad marketing.
I know.
Right, David?
New PR at
Seriously,
What's
yeah,
up,
somebody
David?
get the Catholic Church on Cool Ranch communion wafers. Am I right?
Sorry about
What's
that. The website crashed on me. Sorry about that.
What's up, David? What's going on?
What's happening?
EQ and E2. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I recently ran into a little bit of an issue with equipoise, and it seems that it crashed my estrogen. I was running 900 test, 450 EQ, 30 Anavar, 2 IUs of pharma grade HGH, and 1,000 milligrams berberine. And all of a sudden, sex drive tanked about 3 weeks in. The gain stopped, couldn't get a pump. And I read a little bit about how that's possible with equipoise, kind of hijacking your aromatase enzyme. Is that something that you're aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen. I've seen guys completely crash their estrogen. I mean, I guess anything that aromatase at a lower rate than testosterone could mop up aromatase, correct, Todd?
It's confusing. So I heard that there's 4 different potential metabolites of boldenone.
yeah.
One of which is DHB, which is supposed to be more potent. Then one of which is inert. One of which is esterone, and one of which is an aromatase inhibitor. So, did you get your total estrogen checked or just your estradiol checked?
Well, I had my blood work done shortly while I was on my cruise before the blast, and I didn't have it checked. I'm assuming that I crashed my estrogen.
Oh, so we don't know what the hell's going on. All right. So if
Right.
you're correct, the E2 is low. It might be because the E1 estrone is high, and that you
That's
might
what
just
I'm
have more estrone than estradiol, and the estrone is way less biologically active than estradiol. It's kind of like,
Right.
yeah, basically that's the best way to put it. Kind of like how reverse T3 doesn't do shit. So if you're on too low of a calorie, your body makes reverse T3, not regular T3. So your thyroid gets slowed down rather than sped up so that you stop burning. So it's one of those things where get a total estrogen panel done. And if you want, I can read it and we can go over it when you get it done. Just get a hold of me. The link will be in the description box. And we can try to track it down. I mean, I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean if Paul's heard of it. I mean, I see theoretically how it's possible.
I've seen it on blood panels.
It's weird because
I've heard people. I've definitely seen people crash estrogen
Yeah,
from equipoise. I don't understand the mechanism of how it works, but I have seen it. Kolton, do you?
Right, because on paper, it doesn't seem like it would do that. And I have ran equipoise before without a problem. I don't know if it's just the combination that I had this time or whatever, but it was about 3 weeks in, it was definitely noticeable. And I just discontinued it about 10 days ago. And I'm just starting to convince my wife that I wasn't cheating on her.
Yeah. It's not going to leave your system for what, 70 days?
Yeah, it takes about 2 months.
It probably never even built up to full concentration. According to that chart, you need 70 days to hit max steady state. Kolton, have you ever heard of this?
Yeah, so equipoise,
Right,
and
yeah.
I this is very vague research for me, but equipoise does, one of its metabolites acts as a partial aromatase inhibitor,
Right.
a steroidal aromatase inhibitor. That's in horse models though, so I don't know how correlative that is to humans, but it is something I've seen in blood work, like Paul said.
I've definitely seen it in blood work. I've seen some people get crushed estrogen from running equipoise. For me, it doesn't work that way. But I have seen it on blood panels.
Yeah, I mean, it just
guess it's
seems
a
like
bad
a
alternative to Primo,
totally
then.
useless compound at this point.
Yeah, because the whole point of equipoise is that it's neutral. It's neither more estrogen nor less estrogen. And then apparently if it's going to be an aromatase inhibitor, just like Primo or Masteron, then there's no advantage to it, because on top of it being an aromatase inhibitor, it's also supposed to be renal toxic. Although I don't know if there's any evidence that that's true. Have you guys ever seen any evidence of the renal toxicity of EQ?
Nope.
It's supposed to be, it causes your blood cells to get thicker. It causes you to have anxiety, supposedly. It causes you to have an increased appetite. It causes you to have much better joint support than Deca would. And now apparently it's aromatase inhibitor. So what was theoretically a very neutral drug, and it takes forever to hit your bloodstream. So based on the previous conversation, is you don't realize until it's way too late that you have a side effect, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. And it's going to be months before it gets better. So at this point, EQ seems to be total shit drug.
I mean, I love it, but
Exactly. Yeah.
It seems to be the go-to second compound choice for most pros that I've talked to.
But that's also a convention, because it's cheaper than Primo, and it's theoretically as neutral as Primo. But it seems to have a bunch of additional side effects Primo doesn't have. Primo has virtually no side effects, except for it's an aromatase inhibitor, which is why it's being implemented most of the time.
Yeah, I personally think Primo's a better choice for second compound. Although Primo's, if EQ crushed your estrogen, Primo is probably going to crush it even more.
Yeah.
Right. So it sounds like you just need a higher ratio. You're at a 2-to-1 ratio.
More testosterone.
And you have a full head of hair, so it sounds like you don't have a DHT problem. So I would just go more test.
No, I've never.
Yeah, so if
I'm
900,
at 900 test right now.
Yeah, 900 test, and you're at 450 EQ. So a reasonable thing might be like 1100 test and 300 Primo, only fixating on this one variable of estrogen. That doesn't mean it's safe for your hemoglobin, your hematocrit, your ALT, or anything like that. I mean, that's a whole nother mess. And that's why if you're going to run super high doses like that, you need to have your blood work checked, and you need to have someone who knows what they're doing reading it.
Not to be a weirdo, but it could be gut issues too. The glucuronidase enzyme that's produced in your gut is responsible for making a non-biologically active estrogen into biologically active estrogen. And so if you have digestive issues for whatever reason, I don't know if you have been diagnosed with IBS, that could be potentially a causal factor as well, that you're just not converting that inactive with active estrogen.
I have heard,
So
I do have some digestive issues.
That would be worth looking at too, I'd say.
Years of doing this has kind of on my digestive system.
Everybody that does bodybuilding has shitty digestion, it seems like, at some point.
All
right, David, we appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, Colin, you want to queue up another question?
Sure.
A Milker fan, he is very committed to the cause of Rad 140, but he's saying that Rad 140 is what every pro is talking about now.
I've never heard a single pro talk about.
I've never heard of that.
No, never.
I'd love for him to get his microphone and camera set up and join us on stream to discuss. I don't know why he's relegating himself solely to the comment section. Since he feels so strongly, I would like to invite him to come and discuss.
Are these female pros? Because females use
I train next to Keon Pearson almost every other day, and he's grown like 60 pounds in a year. I don't think he's ever used anything other than testosterone, primobolan, and growth hormone. So,
out of curiosity, you should ask him about this serostim thing.
Yeah, I will. I mean, he's with Patrick Tour now, right? And I know Patrick likes a lot of growth hormones. So
I heard the opposite. I heard Patrick doesn't like
Really?
I've heard him. Yeah, I've heard Patrick say he doesn't like where people run it more than 5 units, that he thinks it's useless.
I know he's very conservative, but
right.
I mean,
I know Patrick's a big insulin and GH guy from what I've heard. Milker's very committed to the SARM cause. Every video I put up, he talks about SARMs.
I don't understand that, man. I can't believe it. Wait, you said he makes videos?
No. Every video I put up, he puts a comment about SARMs.
He's what you might understand as a troll. That's all he are. He's a T word. This gentleman, Jamie, who's been asking a few times, having some trouble with acne. And he says he's currently running 400 milligrams test, 400 milligrams primo, and has a very clean diet in addition to this information. What do you guys
Shitty
think?
genetics.
There's eating dairy. Like if you're eating whey products, that's a huge promotion of acne. There's so many different variables, like xenobiotics in your food. Like if you're eating a lot of shit and plastic and stuff, like that's a huge variable. If you don't filter your drinking water, that's another fucking thing.
I literally had a client that was having breakouts, and I had him come off the whey protein. He was eating the shitty whey concentrate, and within a week, his acne was clearing up.
It's huge. That's happened to me a lot too.
I didn't know that there's
whey concentrate, and then
I didn't know anyone still used dairy in 2023.
I know.
People knew dairy was causing breast cancer like 10 years ago.
That's why you gotta get the raw dairy. You know, Todd.
What's raw dairy?
Well, you drink it straight from the tit.
I get these dudes that go to Costco and they get the cheapest damn
the gold standard shit.
Yeah, the protein powder that's the whey concentrate stuff that's got so much lactose in it, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody did that. That's why when all my diets were for the last, I think, 10 years, dairy free, sugar free, and gluten free, because I just don't want to deal with the random grenades going off in people's bloodstreams. They're like, oh, I've never had a problem with dairy. It's like, have you ever tried being off dairy? No. It's like your whole life's a problem. Like we don't even know what can be fixed by just removing dairy from your diet.
Yeah. Colin and I have talked about this. You don't realize how bad a shitty diet affects you until you eat clean for a while and you go back and eat old crap food.
That's why
we think about how we used to eat and how we used to feel, and we thought that feeling like inflamed and lethargic and having acid reflux and every shit being an explosion was just normal. We didn't realize until we started eating clean. It's like, wow, I was sick for many years.
I used to tell when a woman used to complain about her diet being boring, I would say, okay, here's your cheat meal, and I'd prescribe them a pizza, an ice cream cheat meal. And then they would come to me like 4 days later and they're like, I was so sick. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I was like, so are you so sure you want dairy and gluten in your diet? And they're like, no, I didn't realize how bad that was. And none of them listen until they have to go through it themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Bandit hit it right on the head here, man. It's just meat and rice, man. If you just eat meat and rice, it's like it's hard to go wrong.
I found that you can improve it. I add peas and carrots. That I put in peas and carrots. And because you get your vitamin A, you get your fiber. And so using a little bit of vegetables instead of artificial fiber, because normally chicken rice has no fiber at all, right? Yeah. So rather than adding Metamucil at night, just putting peas and carrots in with your rice,
You got me on the peas and carrots thing when I worked with you. I mixed it in with and then as my contest prep it cranks up, I switch the ratio of peas to rice.
Right, exactly. That was you start with 2 cups of rice.
Yeah,
then
that's
it's
a Todd
be
trick.
A cup and a half of rice and half a cup of peas. Then it's a cup of rice and a cup of peas, and that's how you just take your carbs out for people who don't want to do math.
And then you still have the same food volume.
It's the same food volume. You never notice.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been using peas for my contest prep carbs.
Yeah. Then when I took out the sweet potatoes, I put carrots in. I was like, I need to have some type of red fruit in here, and not red root in here.
Yeah.
And
so
that'll
like
cover
a cup of peas is like what 20? I think it's like half the carbs that are in rice, right?
I think it's less than half. It's less than half, but it's got protein, so you can start taking. The fish tends to have less protein than the chicken because it's more water. So the amount of protein you're losing from switching from chicken to cod is you're making up by switching the rice to the peas.
Yeah, so it's 21 grams in a cup of peas. It's like 50 in rice, so it's a little less than half. But
now, is that counting the fact that it's fiber carbs? Because it's
yeah, that's true. You'd have to delta out
it's a ratio of 1 to 1 to 1.
Oh yeah, so it's 20
fiber, starch, and sugar.
So it's 7 grams of dietary fiber. So yeah, actually your net carbs are going to be 14.
So if you're on a sugar-free diet, completely sugar-free, the only sugar in your diet is the peas and the carrots, which makes them taste amazing once you're like in that zone. So you're craving your diet food hard. And you don't ever want cheat meals because the peas and the carrots seem so sweet. And if they're mixed in with the rice, then it takes care of itself.
That's fine. My go-to is I love fucking baby carrots, dude. Like I could eat those fucking things all day. Fucking love those things.
I only like them if they're like. So what I do is I take my my peas and carrots and I put them in a bowl, and then I put in there. If I'm making Asian food, I'll put in sesame seed oil. If I'm making Italian or Mediterranean food or Indian food, I put in olive oil. And then I put in soy sauce if I'm making Asian food, and I stir that up, and I put the seasoning for the rice in with the peas, and then I put them in the microwave for a minute or two so that the carrots and the peas absorb the soy sauce and the oil. And then what I'll do is I'll put the rice on the plate from the rice cooker and then mix the peas and the carrots in so that each one of the vegetables are like flavor bombs so that it makes you like eating your vegetables, right?
Yeah.
And then the oil will disperse out to the rice and make the rice not sticky. So you're not as likely to choke on it when you're trying to eat. And then of course I'll have the chicken in the air fryer. So my air fryer is so dirty, it's just caked with like dead chicken parts.
Yeah, mine too. I'm not gonna lie.
I basically will I'll put oil on the chicken and I weigh the oil when I do it. So it's still the same 8 to 11 grams of oil per meal. But I'll put the oil on the chicken and then I'll shuffle it around in the air fryer. It's basically like a pan at this point. And so it's all coated and I can put the seasoning on and flip it a couple times. So when you cook it in the air fryer after it's been covered in oil, it actually makes the outer rim of it turn hard and it has the consistency of fried chicken without it being breaded.
Huh. That's interesting.
So, and then you can chop that up and throw it in with the peas and the carrots. And now you've made like chicken fried rice because you didn't actually fry it, but it's got all the same ingredients.
I remember Todd's old cooking videos, man, with your disgusting plates on your pans on the counter. People would be like, "Oh my God, dude, wash that dish."
That's how you get rid of acne, right there.
Yeah. So
it's got to find.
I think my maid was in prison at the time.
As Colin would say, define patina on the. All right, we got some people. All right, Nick, we're going to bring you on, Nick. What's up, Nick?
What a weird angle.
Loving the camera angle.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm bad and I should sit in that corner.
I know.
It's
I
the
feel like
last scene in Blair Witch.
Do I need to rub the lotion on my skin or else I get the hose again?
Oh, shit.
I feel like I'm down in the hole.
Like I'm in a well and it's like put the lotion in the basket.
It puts the lotion in the basket. It asks the question. What's up?
Yeah,
Nick?
way down in the hole. What's going on, Nick?
Spending my Saturday chilling with you guys. You guys had
What's
some
up?
cool cats, and now you're making me feel bad about just having this set up.
We're just fucking with you, man.
We roast everyone who comes on.
So which question, my man?
I wanted to kind of have a general question to stimulate some discussion. I live the bodybuilding lifestyle, and I'm trying to put some mass on right now, but I also battle Crohn's disease. And so my question kind of comes from the space of IBD, people with autoimmune issues. Do you have any advice or experience working with those clients and have like things to look for specifically with your nutrition and training, but then also specifically in the realm of drugs and maybe even contest prep? There's this whole class of like anti-TNF and autoimmune type corticosteroids and anti-inflammatory drugs. And I think the discussion might be worth for some people out there because I think now it's like 1 in 5 or 1 in 6 people around my age in the mid to late 20s has autoimmune issues. The bodybuilding and fitness industry is starting to grow. So I want to see if you guys had any insights on that specifically for me or, in that in general.
Well, I guess the first question is, like you quoted that statistic, if 3 out of 4 people are obese, does the 1 out of 5 of the autoimmune issues fit inside of that obese population? Not that you're obese, you're clearly not. And that's like one thing to consider. As far as tumor necrosis factor alpha, I think that's what you mean by TNF, that I know that Tren upregulates tumor necrosis factor alpha. And I think interleukin 6, although I think the interleukin 6 is useful as in the inflammatory cascade to get the muscle growth going. Whereas I don't, interleukin 1, interleukin 6, and TNF alpha are big inflammatory mediators. I think the first 2 are anabolic. I don't know if TNF is actually anabolic or not. As far as Crohn's disease goes, my experience, I've had a lot of experience doing diets for people with Crohn's, and it's pretty much as simple as what we were just talking about: meat, vegetable, starch, and that's pretty much it. Like you're pretty much
sticking to a low,
much else than that.
Sticking to a low FODMAP diet, right? I mean, that's probably what the gastro is going to tell you.
Well, yeah, I think that, and there's several other things too. Like you wouldn't want your estrogen to be too high because that's pro-immune. Like you're going to overactivate the immune system, which would not be good. Having a over-accentuated insulin, like a really high fasting insulin chronically, would again do the same exact thing. You also want to look at your gut too. And I know it's like I say the gut for everything, but it is really important when looking at autoimmune disorders, especially something like Crohn's, and like assess what is triggering it and basically going on to a low FODMAP diet. Sometimes I like to remove all vegetables and then place in independently one vegetable at a time and see what is going to activate your symptoms particularly. But I also think going through and actually doing like a GI map test and getting some detailed blood chemistry to see what's going on to your immune system. What are the cells independently, like are lymphocytes elevated, or are basophils elevated? Like what is being activated independently of your symptoms, and kind of going from there. And then if need be, you can run protocols to ameliorate any sort of gut issue, and that could potentially get rid of a lot of your autoimmune disorder. That's kind of my 2 cents. I think a lot of bodybuilders get autoimmune issues because of high histamine, high estrogen, or high insulin, and you can mitigate those pretty easily. So
what was the first one you said? High insulin, high histamine, and what?
High estrogen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, for instance, like females who run estrogen replacement therapy often can develop autoimmune disorders due to having too high of estrogen if the dosage is not correct. So not to say that that's what's happening, but it's definitely not good to, if you had chronically high estrogen and you already have symptoms.
I don't know. The doctors told me many times that I have some sort of autoimmune disorder. I don't know if I do or not. I had chronic Lyme disease, and I definitely have a screwed up stomach. I have IBS. So I stick with a low FODMAP diet. I stay away from anything that causes inflammation most of the time. Just depends. I did have some pizza the other week, and that made me regret life afterwards. talk about that. But yeah, I think just being honestly, the diet is the huge part. I think that plays the most important factor. Another thing too, like if you have gut issues, you got to be really, really careful with oral steroids.
Yeah. That's another one. Make sure your stomach acid never gets low. If you're getting acid reflux, it's a big issue for you, at least, or people with those kind of issues, because once that stomach acid is low and you're getting undigested particulates of food down your sphincter, it's not a good deal. Not a good deal at all.
The nutrition originally was what brought me into this. I started what sounded like, oh, you're eating like a bodybuilder, so I figured I would try to ramp things up. But obviously with that comes an ebb and the flow with the gains and cuts, and with obviously my symptoms, I have to kind of ride both waves at the same time. My new medication is the citrate-free new formula of Humira. And apparently, I don't know if you guys know much about this, but they manufacture these antibodies in the lab, and they get sent to me while it's still cold. I have to refrigerate them, but I inject them subcutaneously every couple of weeks, and it's supposed to keep that anti-TNF factor low enough to where my autoimmune disease, is regulated. But then I find that obviously that gives trends with my energy levels and my performance output in the gym. And I've never, heard of this for any other sort of like purpose aside from autoimmune disease. But it seems like that would be also some sort of like weird holy grail for a bodybuilder if they knew anything about this in this formulation for an anti-TNF drug. So I just wanted to mention that as like a parting shot. I really appreciate all the advice.
That's interesting.
So what was the thing you were taking that you just mentioned?
Humira.
Oh,
Humira is citrate-free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
apparently it's some sort of antibodies manufacturing. I get sent them, and it works with my own body's immune system.
That's interesting.
So they're anti-TNF antibodies.
Correct. Yeah. Apparently manufactured in a lab. I don't think you can take
Interesting.
those out of the body.
So the theory is if we injected those, we would have better workouts. Is that what you're implying?
Potentially better recovery. I mean, I know this also falls in line with if you have a lot of these issues in the first place, your body doesn't have a problem having that balance of the tumor necrosis factor.
Interesting. I wonder how I don't think there's a black market for Humira for people who aren't prescribed it to get it, but that's something to explore. Thanks for bringing that up. I never thought of that.
All right, Nick, thank you for coming on, buddy. We appreciate you watching. Dr. Tina, she's been watching our content. She says, female addicted to your content. Thanks for all of it. Appreciate you watching, Tina.
Thanks.
You're the when I look at my my demographics for my YouTube account that says 99.9%
99.9%
male audience,
male.
you are the
female.
0.1 female. So.
She's here for Todd and Todd only.
No, I have the 0. I have 100%, 100.0% male.
I think I've moved up to like 99.7 now. So I did have a female bodybuilder one for an interview this past week. So
that's cool.
My dog's barking back here, but I had Michelle Brent on. Dude, she is wild. She's 65 years old and still competes
at a high level.
At a high level. She is incredible. I don't know if you've ever seen her.
Yeah, I looked at her physique after that podcast and I was just shocked. I was like, this
she works out at our gym. It's hard to just realize how crazy she looks until you see her in person. I saw she just qualified for the Masters Olympia too.
So awesome.
I
know a lot of 65-year-olds that are just having trouble getting around,
right.
Like
it just goes to show a body emotion stays emotion. I believe that wholeheartedly. All the shit about like protein shortening lifespans and stuff, I'd just have a hard time believing it because
I agree.
The healthiest old people I know that are past 100 are the ones who had they're eating a lot of protein.
That's right. That's right.
This is crazy, man. This is her. 65.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, she's killing it, man.
Yeah, she is crazy, man.
She got bigger delts than me.
Yeah, she looks bigger than me.
Her her form is impeccable on everything too.
She said she's never been
picked up
injured.
tips from
So
her.
she told me.
Just watching her work with other people at the gym. I've learned things.
So she's a personal trainer.
Nah, she just
No,
chills out.
she helps people out sometimes at the gym fixing their form on stuff.
Can you
She
imagine
was
how
helping
many
someone
repetitions?
on seated rows one time, and I was just watching her, give this guy some pointers, and I was learning just because that's how awesome she is.
Yeah, she qualified for the Masters Olympia. They put the lineup out this past week.
She should go, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah, she said she
incredible.
is.
Is she physique or is she bodybuilding?
Bodybuilding.
That's awesome. I mean, what's funny is she has a more feminine face than most of the female bodybuilders, even the ones in their 30s. Because that's
hard to believe.
That's no makeup, and that she looked at.
I was laughing. I was asking her about her last contest prep. She said she used 300 milligrams of Tren a week.
Was that a joke?
No, she's dead serious.
Oh.
It's working. Whatever she's doing. Here's Dave from his tractor again. What's up, Dave?
This is awesome.
What's up, fellas?
Live from the tractor.
Live from the
Blue collar bodybuilding. What's up, Dave?
What's up, man?
About back here. How you guys doing?
Good, man.
Hey, I had a quick question, actually, probably pretty much for Todd there. So I was talking to Paul, and I'm going to run a deload next week. I haven't deloaded, and I'm starting to really feel it the past like 16 weeks. I haven't done a deload, and I'm pretty run down.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Jackie's doing the same thing, but she told me about.
I talked to her yesterday about it.
Yeah, she told me though that there's one method you talk about, because I was going to just do half the weight, half the sets, in pretty much high reps, just pushing blood around. But you were kind of mentioning something where you can do like 100% of the load, but like pretty much 50% of the sets and reps. Is that right?
If the reason, so here's the thing, like if the primary motivator for initiating the deload is joint ache and pain, we want to reduce the load and deload. But if the primary reason for the deload is all of the cerebral or emotional reasons of fatigue, not joint fatigue, we don't need to deload, we need to devolume. So that's why we'll cut the volume in half and cut the total reps in half. Because if you think about it, if you're doing the max load, if you're doing, let's say 300 pounds for 10 reps normally, and now you're going to do 300 pounds for 5 reps, it's the same thing as RAR 5, right? We're doing 5 reps in reserve. So we get right up to the point where we're using the heavy weight so that the nervous system is used to handling that load, but we're not actually getting any effective reps in. So we're not pushing our body to have to grow new muscle that week. And we're letting it catch up on the inbox. Because I found that, if you take an entire week off, when you come back, you're now detrained. Like you can't even lift as well as you did when you were fatigued. But if you do a deload where you do a week where you're doing submaximal lifts, when you come back, you're getting great pumps with half the volume.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm actually, as much as it sounds like I'd love to do the 100% rep range, 100% of my weight, I'm probably going to have to do the volume because I'm kind of more achy and just kind of run
for
down.
Sure. And that's because her neck is bugging her. That's why I think that she should decrease the total load on her upper body. But if her lower body isn't hurting in any way, then she could just decrease the reps and do half reps, half volume on the lower body.
It's funny, I tell all my clients to take deloads and then I never take them myself.
Right. And then when you guys both come back, like what I would like her to do is go 100% load, 100% reps, but stay at half volume. And then every week add volume to catch back up to where you were. Because you may find that you will get a better response out of half the volume. And then that way you have more runway rather than coming back and doing 100% load, 100% volume, 100% reps. And you have this incredible first week. And then every week after that is less of a response. That this way,
the training program I have built out, or at least it's not even really mine. It's Mike Israel program, but it sort of self-regulates where you slowly ramp up the volume. And then you have a programmed in deload after the 6-week block. And then you pull back down. And then you build the volume back up again. That's sort of how it works.
I've seen what you wrote for her. originally, and I don't know how closely they stuck to that, but I did notice that was Israel's progression of
it's Israel's program essentially.
The volume progresses up, and then it's a built-in deload. I used it through the whole summer and most of the winter was that style of doing it.
Yeah, I'm not doing it right now. Colin and I we've really only been doing like 3 to 4 sets on everything just because my shoulder's such a fucking mess, man. And I've been making progress. So I'm like, why do I need to push the volume out more if I'm progressing?
What I found was with Israel's stuff is that he's later in more advanced or in anecdotal mentionings had said that whereas originally he postulated advanced lifters need even more volume than intermediates. He now feels advanced lifters need less volume than intermediates.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We're more efficient at exhausting the muscle with every rep, with a greater skill level at the exercise. And because the loads we're using are higher relative to our body weight, that it's even more fatiguing. And that what I ran into was the same, where I wasn't getting any joint issues, but I kept getting sick. And then I watched a video with Dorian, and I knew that Dorian had switched from 2 working sets to 1 working set because he felt he recovered better. But when I watched the actual interview, he said specifically, I found that I was getting colds all the time. And I'm like, that's what I'm going through. So not that I'm as strong as Dorian, but the point is that I pretty much had to pull it back, and that I noticed that once you take those adjustments into play, it now replicates the J3U John Jewett approach towards the volume, which is 2 sets approximately for compounds and about 3 for isolations, and you get in like the Andy Galpin range of the 10 to 20 per week for that body part. And you don't really adjust the volume. You let the progressive resistance, what he calls a dual dynamic progressive resistance, which just means that you either add weight to the bar or you add reps. And then,
that's exactly what we do.
And you just progress with one of those as much as you can. And you take a deload in 6 to 9 weeks. And then their deloads is 3 days off. And that's what I was doing before the Israel thing. And that's what I've been doing for this prep. And it is way better on systemic fatigue. That the Israel approach was just so much mountains of systemic fatigue.
Well, that's what I did last week. Is I took 3 straight days. I took Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, thinking I'll be fine to go at it because I was only skipping my second leg day. So it's like I'm not missing anything this week if I just do 4 days. And it just wasn't enough. By second day, I realized it wasn't.
Yeah, but you guys had trained 6 days in a row the previous week, whereas normally you do 2 on, 1 off. You guys hammered it for 6 days straight, and you drove yourselves into a deep fucking hole because her neck went to shit on day 4, and you kept lifting, and then her neck got worse on day 5 and worse on day 6. Yeah. So you basically accumulated a month's worth of fatigue in that 6-day stretch.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I like Dr. Israel's talk about deloads. He says it's kind of like a toilet. No one can tell you when you need it. You just know.
Yeah, you know when it's time.
Yeah. So that's exactly what's happening to me. I got to run to the deload section, but I appreciate you hitting on that. I'm gonna run, but I'll catch up with you guys later.
That's good chat. Easy, man.
I have to give it to John Jewett. He is kind of like taking the best of everybody's ideas and assembled them into a platform and selling it. He's like cherry picked everybody else's ideas and put them all together.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. The J3U is just getting better and better.
I need to build my own version. I'm working on it.
I bought his course for when I hire assistant coaches for them to go through with it. And it's pretty good, but it's not like, I mean, it's good for like someone who doesn't know anything, but like it's not that crazy. I don't feel like
your frame of reference is totally
fun. And that's true.
You know way more than anybody on the planet.
It's just I was a little underwhelmed. I was like, this is what everyone's
it's like I would say it's like a 101 level bodybuilding course for coaching.
I think it's more advanced than that. I just think that Kolton, you're not going to find anyone who has your depth of knowledge. That it's like the Alex Kikal thing, where he comes up with shit that I have never heard of. But now you tell me that he makes it up. That's why I never heard of it. Whereas with you is like, there's some stuff you say that I've never heard of, but I believe if I like that glucuronidase is
Enzyme,
that the gut determines whether we convert the estrogen into functional estrogen. Never heard that shit before. Yeah.
All right, Drake has been patiently awaiting. I need to close this off soon, but I feel like I've been leaving him here forever. We got to get him on, and then we'll wrap this up.
Sounds good.
Drake.
All
right, Drake, you there, man? I see nothing but a black screen.
Cool name. I'm like in anticipation.
Oh,
there we go.
Drake, are you there?
What's up, man?
Do it. It's in the corner.
You're hiccuping.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear us?
Love the show, but question. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. What's your question, buddy?
Okay, I'll just go ahead and ask. So newbie gains. So I did a natural show last July. I was 160, peeled out of my mind. Got fat as shit after the show, leveled out about 190. Started my test in November, and then did an NPC show about 2 weeks ago. Ended up on stage at 185, but I never pushed the calories. I was self-coaching the first 20 weeks of that. Basically actually doing a recomp. So pretty much the question is, did newbie gains count before you actually try and push with that dose with?
I guess I don't really understand the situation.
Does that make sense?
Well, you're kind of cutting out, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Do newbie gains count on your first cycle? Is that what you're asking?
You shouldn't be doing a cycle if you still can make newbie gains.
Without,
I mean, I've seen there's 3 phases usually. You'll have your newbie gains if you've never done anything before. If you've never lifted, I see people like to just get in the gym. You just grow from even just looking at freaking weights. Yeah. Then they'll stop after a while. And then like the next phase where I see where people make progress is when they get on a structured diet. When people get on a structured diet, then they have another burst of growth, and then you kind of plateau there. And then the next one is when people do PEDs the first time. I see, and the other time, like there is probably one other time. The one other time where you're probably going to have another burst of gains is where you diet down for a show and get really super lean the first time, and then you have your first rebound. That's another one. But after that, it seems to be a grind. Those are the 4 times where I see people make big gains. I don't know how you guys feel about it, Todd and Kolton, but that's generally what I see. Those are your 4 opportunities to make big gains.
Yeah. I mean, if I could have critiqued what you did, I would have said start the cycle immediately after the first show.
That was my PED, man.
I think we got a crappy connection here, Drake. I'm gonna pull you off, man.
One more.
Todd, could I ask you a question about do you coach female competitors?
Yes.
How would you set up a wellness split? I'm very curious because I've been
I just did that. Hold on.
I'm curious because I have a way of doing it, but I just feel like I see all these Brazilians here doing weird shit, and I'm like, maybe there's something to this that I'm not.
Yeah, they've got genetics. I think it's the reason, and that it doesn't really matter what they do.
Exactly. That's what I figured. They train really
Brazilian booties are great for wellness. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, my phone's got to break down. Jesus.
Like, so here's what I've typically seen is these girls will come into the gym 3 times a week and do glutes, and then the other 2 to 3 times a week they'll come in and do cardio.
Man, why is this got to break down now? Like, I've never had an issue with this bullshit.
Maybe satellites are falling or something. That guy's internet was shit.
It's the aluminum foil.
Did your aluminum foil fall off your window? Yeah, you beat me to it, Paul. Damn it.
Damn it.
I cannot believe that this is taking a
I
shit
won.
Right now.
Reposition the foil, Todd.
That was funny as hell.
I don't know why Google Drive's not working. So what did you say?
I'm just curious, like how you'd set up a split for a wellness competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I have a wellness split I just made that's great, and for some reason my Google Drive's not working.
You can send it to him off air.
Yeah, you can. I'm curious.
Yeah, it was pretty intricate. So I think what I did is I had glutes and hams and calves 3 times a week. And then what I did is I put a couple delt and a couple lat exercises before. Okay, this is what it was. It was Monday and Saturday was a little bit of delts, a little bit of lats, and then it was glutes, and then hams, and then calves. And then on Wednesday was just glutes and hams and calves. And then on Thursday, it was just delts and lats.
Okay. So there's
And
like
I flipped the order a lot. So like I did delts, then lats, then glutes, then hams, then calves. And then the other day I went like lats and then delts and then glutes and hams and calves. And then on the leg day, I went hams and then glutes. And then on the upper body day, I went calves and then delts and then lats.
So virtually no pushing.
No.
Okay.
You know, and that's like, I could add that in, but here's what the way I like to look at it is I want to get their delts and their lats and their glutes and their hams growing, because I have a feeling once you diet a wellness girl down, she's just bikini.
Yeah.
Until they are actually on stage and you have them do dual divisions, you have them do bikini, you have them do wellness, and then they win bikini and then they lose wellness. And then they're like, oh, I want to do bikini. And then you didn't fuck them up for life, right? Yeah. But if you put big ass quads on somebody and then they go and they do their first show and they've got big ass quads and no butt, you're never going to get that butt to catch up with those quads.
Right.
Because when I train glutes, I mean, it's going to be glute isolation stuff like glute abduction, hip thrusts for glute, right? Mm-hmm. And then into a press. So like either a Bulgarian split squats, walking lunges, a Smith squat, a belt squat, something like that, right? So there is some quads being got.
Yeah.
It's just that the quads are secondary to glute training, so that there's no way ever their quads could grow faster than their glutes. Because with girls, the first things that grow are traps, biceps, and quads, because they typically didn't do sports, so they don't have much mind-muscle connection. So the muscle, what I find is when people do squats, if they're not a trained athlete, they can't isolate their glutes. They've never felt their glutes before. It's just quads. Yeah. If they're doing pulling, it's all this. So it's all traps and biceps. It's not going to be lats. So if you isolate for lats and they don't manage to hit the lat, they're still getting their traps. They're still getting their biceps. Mm. If you isolate for glutes and they don't fire their glutes, they're still getting their quads.
Yeah.
So I'm basically leaving the target.
You program for the errors that you think they're already going to make. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Otherwise, you're never going to catch up.
Yeah.
Because if you fuck up and their quads are too small and they're crying, you're like, the judges said I need more quads. You know, like all you got to do is like, okay, you know, like
right.
you do 1 month of leg extensions and their legs explode.
Yeah.
And then they put on body fat and their legs are so big and they're crying. They're like, my legs are so big. And then you're like, well, I knew that was going to happen. That's why I didn't want to hyper focus on it. I wanted to first see how much quad is in that thigh, because it may not be as much as you think.
Yeah.
Because I've been coaching girls for 14 years. And so I know a lot of people are like, he's such a misogynist. It's like, no, I have experience. I know this is what's going to happen. And what's funny is every time they're like, I won't act like that. And then you go through it and they're like, I acted like that. And it's like,
Todd's not a misogynist, guys. He just knows these broads are dumb. That's all.
I just so many times. I know exactly how it's going to go. So that's why I know this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The modern fashion R word. All right. I think that's a good note to wrap this one up.
Awesome.
I'm going to go
make all right, folks. I appreciate you.
What? You're gonna go make what?
Japanese curry with the wife. She wants to cook tonight.
Oh, I thought you said something else.
That's not a euphemism.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the
Wow.
Japanese curry.
I'm gonna go
Tell you,
make
like,
some
I'm gonna
sex
make
euphemism
curry
there.
paste out of my wife.
with the wife.
Depending on how much Japanese curry I eat, there may be some of that in the future, but I may also just be too tired and full of curry. So.
Everyone loves making love to a man that smells like curry.
It's been my experience.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is another classic episode of Anabolic Bodybuilding Live. Thank you for watching.